Shalom, shalom. It's Brother
Shalom,
Danal,
brother Azrael.
brothers of the hopeful elect. Coming back on what is it today? Thursday. Think about it, Thursday, right? And the topic today is going to be: Are you a fool for Christ? It's something to think about. First and foremost, we want to give all honor and praise to the Most High God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, whose name got turned to Israel, who sent His Son as a living sacrifice to be an instrument of salvation for the nation of Israel, right? Just like it states in Romans chapter 10 and verse 1. It's our heart and desire that all Israel might be saved. That's why we do these videos to edify our people. Out of the sincerity of our heart, man, and to put our brick in to make our calling and election sure. So the Most High knows, and you guys know which side we are on. Without further ado, we're gonna jump straight into this. Think about it, Thursday. Are you a fool for Christ? Shouldn't be a long one, man. Should be short and sweet. Just got some things for us to think about today. I'm gonna share my screen. Let me see. I'm gonna start off with a classic. Gonna start off with a classic. If you don't know this one, man, you should know. I know when we first came into the truth, this was a staple precept that we used to see on all the videos, especially like the street teaching videos. It's a classic, man. It's an oldie but a goodie, right? And I think a lot of times we don't take it into consideration when it goes into just our actions, because this is talking about speaking, but it also can be referred to, you know, towards our actions. It can be twofold, if that makes sense, right? And so this is the book of Isaiah, chapter 58, and verse number 1, right?
The book of Isaiah, chapter 58 and verse 1. Cry aloud, spare not. Lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and show my people their transgressions, and the house of Jacob their sins.
Right, man. This is technically the book of the law, right? When you talk about the law and the prophets, the Torah and the Tanakh, a lot of time the prophets are referred to as the law as well. Why? Because all throughout the prophets you're gonna see commandments, right? Um, and it's important to know that the prophets speak thus saith the Lord. So they're not going to say anything of their own will. They're not going to say anything of their own might. Everything that they're going to be saying and relaying to people is going to be strictly out the mouth of God. And so we know that what they say is law, right? And so the book of Isaiah, chapter 51, 58 is telling us, hey, look, cry aloud. What does it mean to cry aloud? Right? When you cry aloud, your lip is, hey, it says spare not. So you're crying aloud, you're making things known, and you're sparing not, meaning you're not sparing anybody's feelings. You don't care how anybody feels about it, right? You're just declaring the truth. You're sparing not. You're not sparing nothing. Nobody, the old nor the young, right? Everybody got to get this truth. It says, "Lift up thy voice like a trumpet," meaning, hey, look, don't be bashful when it comes to these things, right? We can't be bashful. We can't be shy. We can't be ashamed. We went over it in the several videos from this week and last week about how our people just can't be ashamed of this gospel, man. You have to make known this thing, man, and it's the only way our people are gonna get edified, right? Lift up thy voice like a
Uh,
trumpet. You got
you
something to
know,
say?
when you say, make known, that puts me into the mindset of the parable of the Lord that left his left talents to his
Man,
servants.
bruh. Hey, look, we gonna get there, my G. You know what I'm saying? We gonna get there after this though, but that's through the spirit, man. We're gonna dissect that for sure. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Keep going.
Nah, we can get to it. And by the way, y'all, shalom. Uh, right, I didn't say shalom, so I salute into shalom to everybody that's watching, that's gonna tune in later. You could be doing anything, but you're fellowshipping with your brothers over here at the Hopeful Elect. Man, it could be with any other Israelites as well. We say shalom to all, peace be unto you. Shalom to those that are keeping the law, statutes, commandments, and shalom to the cleavers that are cleaving and know their place and know their role, right? That know that the God of Israel is the only God, the God above all gods, right? And they're like Nebuchadnezzar, they're like Pharaoh to Joseph. Take me to your God, as it says in Zechariah, for I know that He is with you, right? And they're cleaving, like Isaiah 14 says. So shalom to them, um, and shalom to everybody that tapped in. Like I said before, man, another Think About It Thursday. But also, when we say through the Spirit, we really mean through the Spirit, because brothers don't share their lessons, man. You know what I'm saying? Brothers don't share the lessons before we get on here. We get on here through the Spirit and power of the Most High God. And so if a brother overspeaks or if a brother pulls out a precept, we really are pulling that through the Spirit, because we don't know what the brother's lesson is about, right? That's just, a little backstory, right? Whenever we say through the Spirit, it's actually through the Spirit. Lacan.
Gone, man. And the brother and I feel like it's the majority of all my lessons, man. Y'all might feel the same way, but I get to going, man. And both the brothers, by the way, shalom to the brother Yeshaya that just entered the stage. But I feel like, every time I get to going, both the brothers, man, they be on it through the Spirit, be jumping to precepts I got down and parables that I want to dive into. So, hey, man, that's just letting you know that we're intertwined with each other, man, and we got our heads on straight. And there's a phrase that I want to say, it's just not coming to my mind. My head stopped working, my mind stopped working right real for a quick second. But you guys understand what I'm going to, where I'm coming from. But without further ado, man, that was Isaiah 58:1. And well, finishing it out, it says, "Show my people their transgressions." This is what we're supposed to be doing, man, right? Especially in this time right now, we're supposed to be showing our people their transgressions, right? Showing them where we've been going wrong and showing them how we got to get back on track. In the house of Jacob, their sins, and we know the sins are the transgressions of the law that our people are so heavy indebted to, and our people practice on a day-to-day basis. This is why we can't be bashful about it. There was a video that I posted on my page a long time ago, and the brother brought out an analogy. He said, "Hey, look, man, it's like our people are in a burning house, right? And I can't just go up to my loved one that's in the burning house who's fast asleep and tap him on the shoulder and be like, 'Hey, man, we gotta go. We gotta go.'" He said, "Hey, man, sometimes we gotta, yank them a few times and be like, 'Hey, man, the house is on fire. Let's go.'" You know what I'm saying? You gotta cry aloud. You gotta spare not. You gotta lift up your voice, because right now is the time to do it. Right now is the time to do it. There's no time to play around. There's no time to tiptoe around things. We have to let this truth be known. Paraphrasing, man, and the truth will set you free. The truth has set us free, and we have to get that truth out to other people so that truth can set them free as well. But we're gonna go to that parable that brother mentioned. I did have that in mind. It was crazy because I was going through and I was trying to figure out what I was gonna title the video, and I was gonna title it, something along the lines of this parable. But I ended up titling it "Are You Fools for Christ?" because we're gonna go into that I guess you can consider that a parable as well. We're gonna go into that parable as well. So I don't know if I want to start at the beginning because it is a long kind of a long read. I think I want to just get straight to the point. So we're gonna go to verse 24. And then what I will say is, if you haven't read this before, this is Matthew 25. I'm gonna start at verse 24. If you haven't read this parable before, it's a very great parable, and we're just gonna dive into it, man. Just to give you a synopsis, a master, he handed out some talents, and he pretty much told his servants to be good stewards of those talents and to multiply them for him, right, while he was gone. And we're just gonna jump straight into it, starting at verse 24, if you can for me.
Verse 24. Then he which had received the one talent came and
So
said,
one of them only received one talent, right? And his master came back, and they're about to have this dialogue, right? Keep reading.
and said, Lord, I knew thee that thou art an hard man, reaping where thou hast not sown, and gathering where thou hast not strawed.
Right. He said, hey man, I know that you're a hard man, right? I know that nothing that you do is easy, right? I know that you reap where you have not sown. I know that you are gathering where you have not strawed, right? That's some hard work, right? Not only do you have to reap where you've sown, but you have to go and reap where you haven't sown. Not only have you gathered, you know what I'm saying, where you have strawed, but you got to gather where you haven't strawed, relying on people to do it for you, right? That could be a very frustrating thing. And to parallel that with Christ, our master, he's up there, right? He's left us. He's done planted some seeds. He done scattered some straw, right? But he's up there, and just to think how frustrating it is for him to look down on us and to see what we're doing with the talents that he gave us, right? And the talents in this parable can be many things, right? Can be all the gifts that the Lord has bestowed upon us. We know the spiritual gifts that He's given us, right? To teach, to prophesy. What are some more spiritual gifts, man? Alms, speaking in tongues. What are some more spiritual gifts?
Teaching, um, pastoring, government.
God,
Uh,
man. There's I think that's in First Corinthians, if I'm not mistaken, where it talks about the spiritual gifts. You guys go check out those spiritual gifts. There's been many spiritual gifts that's been given to us. Even people have some spiritual gifts of singing, right? We know even David used to play that harp, and he used to get that evil spirit out of King Saul, right? So we got brothers that are laboring in this truth, that are in music, in the music industry, right? We have many talents, many gifts, right? And we got to multiply them. You know what I'm saying? But think how frustrating it must be for Christ to give us these spiritual gifts, and we're not helping him out at all. We're just kind of, it's cool that I can do X, Y, and Z, but I'm gonna keep it tucked, right? Keep reading for me.
um, and I was afraid and went and hid thy talent in the earth.
So he said, "Hey, look, man, I only had one talent, and I was afraid, man. So I went and hid my talent in the earth, man. Right? Keep reading.
Lo, there thou hast that is thine.
Right. So he says, "Hey, look, I hid my talent till you came back, just to make sure I had it." You know what I'm saying? And all that is excuses, man. That's all that is excuses. And we have many people, especially in the truth, that have excuses, right? Hey, I was afraid, so I didn't wear my fringes. You know what I'm saying? We hear stuff like this. Hey, I was afraid, so I'm not. We talked about the sister not too long ago. I was afraid, so I'm not gonna call myself an Israelite no more, right? I was afraid, so I didn't want to go out there into adversity on the street because, hey, this is I make a living in this area, and my boss might run into me.
Yeah. And a lot of people too, Salakia, excuse me, a lot of people too, in the truth, just want to play it safe. You know what I'm saying? Like this brother right here that hit his talent, right? He wanted to make sure that he had something to give, right? He didn't want to go all out and then maybe mess up and then lose his talent. So he just wanted to play it safe. So a lot of brothers and sisters, man, we play it safe when we come into this truth and we learn a little something, something, and we don't want to ever grow. We don't ever want to grow past the doctrines that were taught to us when we first came in. We don't ever want to study for ourselves or learn for ourselves. That's us hiding our talent, man. A quick example, used to pull cable, right? Used to pull cable, and it's a blue collar job, and we had a foreman and a general foreman and things of that nature. If anybody's been in construction, a general foreman and a foreman, they don't sew no work, man, right? And they'll come by in they nice trucks, right, gathering stuff that they did not straw, right? Like as the scripture says. So one day, right, we had the head Negro in charge, right? She was a lady, and she rode by in the truck, and she told us what she needed out of us. And it was this one, you could say an Edomite, right? There was this one Edomite. He told her straight up. He said, "That's impossible. We can't do that." He's like, "We could probably do this much by Friday, but we can't do that." Man, she fired that man on the spot, right? Letting you know Hey, people that's in that position, man, to sow or to reap where they didn't sow and to gather where they didn't straw, those are hard men. Well, in her case, a hard woman. You got to be hard to be in that job. You know why? Because if you're not hard on the people, they're gonna hide their talents. They're gonna
Right.
BS you, man.
Hey, look, in that same situation, I believe a lot of times that man that got fired, right? Every time she came around and she asked us, "Hey, why y'all ain't doing this? Why y'all sitting down? Why y'all doing X, Y, and Z?" He always had an excuse. Well, I thought, well, maybe if we took like a 15-minute break right there, then we could knock it down later on. And that's the same thing, like the brother was saying. That's another form of making that excuse and hiding your talent, right? You're on the job, you're making money, you should be working at all times. That's the way she looked at it. And that's why he had to go. Because hey, look, when you look at this and it says, when you read through this parable, he gives these talents so they can be multiplied, right? So if your talent is not being multiplied, I don't care if you save that one talent that he gave you, right? To rend it back to him when he came, you still, your job was not done, right? We go to those scriptures where it says, "Don't be lukewarm." Because if you're lukewarm, he'd rather you be hot or cold. When you hide your talent and you don't make no effort to multiply it, you're being lukewarm, right? And he would rather you hot or cold. And he's gonna spew you out of his mouth because you have failed. Matter of fact, let's go up. Let's see something real quick. Read verse 22. This is another brother that was given some talents, right? And he did what he had to do. Let's see what let's see what Christ and the Most High had to say for him, right? Or his master. Verse 22.
Verse 22. He also that had received 2 talents came and said, Lord, thou deliverest unto me 2 talents. Behold, I have gained 2 other talents beside them.
Khan saying, "Hey, look, you gave me two, I multiplied them. Now I have four." And what is the Lord gonna say to him? Keep reading.
Verse 23. His Lord said unto him, Well done, good and faithful servant.
Because that's what we're trying to hear at the end of the day, right? Well done, my good and faithful servant. You know what I'm saying? Why? Because he understood the assignment. Um, we all, throughout my work career, we always talking about, hey, pay attention to detail, right? Um, and what am I trying to think of right now, man? Pretty much, dang, it slipped my mind. But hey, look, man, you have to understand the assignment and get it done. Do what's being asked of you, right? You can have all the wise comments, all the excuses, but you will never fail if you just do what's being asked of you, man. Right? Don't question it, right? And if you do question it, let it go past and just do do what you was told, man. Right? You might think you have a better way, but if somebody that's is over you is telling you to do something, trust me, they're telling you to do it for a reason. And hey, this guy, he understood the assignment. And what did the Lord say to him? What did the master say to him when he came back?
Well done, good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will make thee ruler over many things. Enter thou into the joy of the Lord.
Right, man. Right. I gave you a few things and you multiplied it for me. That's what I like to see, right? Because you're making me rich, I'm gonna make you rich, right? Where were we at with this guy that only had one talent that hit it, right? And he says he went and hid his talent in the earth, right? Now let's read what you're gonna get for not wearing your fringes because you're afraid. What you're gonna get for not being able to sacrifice your body because you're afraid. What you're gonna get from, hey, I really felt like I needed to speak to that person and tell them X, Y, and Z. Tell them that they're an Israelite. Tell them that they need to keep these commandments. I really needed to speak to that person to tell them, hey, look, he might be going off, right? You have those second thoughts, like, maybe this person doesn't know that that's a sin. you know Maybe, I really feel like if I were to convey this, the discipline of this scripture to this person, they would understand it. And then you just let them go by and you don't even break it down to them no more, so they don't. So now you're keeping that understanding to yourself. All of these things where you're making excuses and you're being afraid, right? This is what the Most High God And Christ is going to say to you, right? Read verse number 26.
Con, and I want to say before we read this, right? This truth is like a virus, man. It's contagious, but it only works and it only spreads if you do your part, right? If you're a candle, right, you have the power to light other candles, right? We see that in the physical, right? A flame can go to another flame and go to another flame, and guess what? It will not diminish out of your flame.
Right.
Same thing when we look at sheep, right? Right? We're all looked at as lost sheep, right? But if the sheep see the majority going somewhere, 9 times out of 10, that sheep is going to go with the majority. So guess what? If you're going this way, you might grab the attention of another sheep, which might grab the attention of another sheep. And now all y'all are headed in the right direction, right? So that's why you can't be afraid to hide your talent and move in the right direction. A
Right.
lot of
Stop.
people,
My bad.
go ahead.
I was gonna say stop second guessing yourselves too, man. A lot of us run ourselves into detriments because we think too much, right? We think too much. Stop second guessing yourself. If you think you should be doing something, if you discern something, right, and it's of the Most High, act on it. Because I guarantee you, 9 times out of 10, that's that discernment, that's that wisdom that's speaking to you. Stop second guessing yourself.
Come, man. Make sure you have that discernment and that is of the most high. When it's of the most high, you can't go wrong, right? I want to read this real quick because a lot of brothers and sisters might be at this point and they might say, what would anybody be afraid of? Right. But here's an example, right? Matthew 23:15. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye compass sea and land to make one proselyte or proselyte, right? Meaning you convert somebody. Meaning, sometimes if we can compare it, it might be an organization or it might be a camp or a congregation that might convert somebody. They like what they hear, they like what they see, they like the lifestyle, right? They done made a proselyte, right? And when he is made, you make him twofold more the child of hell than yourselves. So a lot of people might be afraid that, man, if I teach somebody the wrong thing, I could cause them to go out of the truth. Go out of the truth. So I'm just not gonna say nothing, man. If I do this in public, I might lead somebody astray. They might not be my friend anymore because they probably looked this up on YouTube and Google, and it says we're a hate group, right? A lot of us were afraid of making somebody 2 times the child of hell. But like the brother Denal said, you got to have discernment in all things, and if it's of God, you cannot hide that talent,
Right.
right?
You got to be able to analyze things, man. And of course, when you're faced with things that you have to face head on, you only got a split second to analyze. But at the end of the day, man, we understand that this truth, we cannot be ashamed of it. That's why, like the brother was saying, a lot of us, we feel ashamed when we're faced with telling the truth, and we kind of shy away from it, or we dumb it down or water it down because now you can't say it like that because it's gonna make us seem like this, right? The truth is what the truth is. You know what I'm saying? And as long as you're being respectful, right, and you're being peaceable with all men, the truth does what the truth does. It's gonna make some separations, but as long as you're saying thus saith the Lord, you can't go wrong, and you got to stand on that. You got to be able to stand on that, and you can't be like verse 25 where he says I was afraid, because at the end of the day, when you stand before the Lord and you say I was afraid, there's nothing he can do with that, because he tells you over and over and over again not to be afraid. And the only person you should be afraid of is the Most High. So you come face to face with your maker, and you're saying that you are afraid of X, Y, and Z, men that he created, right? It's not going to be a fair enough excuse. And matter of fact, he's going to say this to you in verse 26.
Verse 26. His Lord answered and said unto him, thou wicked and slothful servant.
And it's so crazy because a lot of y'all are very meek, very shy, right? A lot of y'all to yourselves, and he's gonna call you wicked, right? A lot of y'all wouldn't hurt a fly, but he's gonna call y'all wicked in that day, right? And he's gonna call you slothful. You thought you were doing the right thing and think about all that energy it takes to hide things from people, bro. All that energy, and you're still being called slothful. Wicked and slothful, man, is the person that's afraid, is the person that's hiding his talent. Keep reading.
Thou knewest that I reap where I sow not, and gather where I have not strawed.
He said, you knew that I was gonna come to collect, right? You knew that I was gonna come to these places, right, to gather things that I have not set out. And when I get to the places, I'm looking around like there's nothing for me to gather. What's going on here? Right? You knew this ahead of time. Keep reading.
Thou oughtest therefore to have put my money to the exchangers.
You were supposed to take my money and go out, right? What does it mean? Go out to the church. Who's the church? Our brothers and sisters, right? These who we call the so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, and the speckled bird that's been scattered abroad. All of us that fit these curses. You're supposed to take this money and go spread it out to the exchangers, right? You're supposed to exchange this money. Hey, let me give you this, and you give me that. And we do it at camp all the time, right? We was just talking about this at when we went last time we went to Fort Valley State, right? We said, "Hey, sister, give me that evil eye, and I'm gonna give you this bracelet with this Bible verse on it, right? You're supposed to be going out to the exchangers. Give me that for this, because this is better. That's what you were supposed to be doing when I gave you this money. And keep reading.
And then at my coming, I should have received mine own with usury.
Then, then when I came back, I was gonna receive my own the seeds that I spread when I was there, and I was gonna get the ones that you planted too with usury, right? So I'm gonna get them and then some more. That was the plan. But now I'm coming back and I'm only getting the ones that I sowed, and I was gone thousands of years ago, right? Imagine the frustration, right? Keep reading,
Take therefore the talent from him and give it unto him which had 10 talents.
right?
Right. And if you think about this too, right? I know a lot of brothers and sisters watch Power or you watch documentaries of how drug deals go down, right? You got that one distro, you got that one supplier, right? That is gonna reap where they didn't sow, right? That's going to gather straw where they didn't, right? Where they didn't straw. They're gonna gather where they didn't straw. Meaning what? They coming to collect, like the brother Denal said, and they want more. They was expecting you to put, and this is no folly, but they was expecting you to mix it up with some baking soda to stretch it to get more money. So that way, when they come to collect, they're collecting their own what they gave you, and with usury, right? And guess what? And if you don't have it, they're gonna take that supply from you and give it to somebody else that want it, right?
Mighty point, mighty
That's
parallel.
what God is saying, man.
Read verse 29.
Verse 29. For unto everyone that hath shall be given, and he shall have abundance. But from him that hath not shall be taken away even that which he had.
Just like the brother said, man. Just like hey, you don't do what you hey, I'm gonna take that from you and give it to somebody else that wants to work, right? That's what the Most High saying. We read those scriptures where the Most High says our lives are like candles to Him, and He can blow that candle out whenever He chooses to. If you're not spreading that flame, and like I got a candle, tip it over, both of them light. This person, he goes to the next person, right? And come on, right? And it just keeps going. If you're not spreading your flame, the Most High is gonna blow that candle out, right? He's gonna take from you what you're not using and give it to somebody else that's gonna put it to good use, right? Because he's gone. He can't do nothing in the physical right now. It's our job. We're in the physical, right? There's things celestial and there's things terrestrial. We're here.
Right.
We're supposed to be putting this work in.
So like you too, since you ended that with saying putting this work in, another example or parallel of somebody gathering where they have not strawed, right? Since we're in the Passover season, what comes to mind is Exodus, where Pharaoh, he commanded us to get our own straw. He said he's not going to provide straw no more. And we had to go get our own straw, right? And guess what the children of Israel did? They went and got that. They found a way and they kept working. Why? Because, hey, look, even though it wasn't to their benefit, even though the stuff that the treacherous cities they were building was gonna, Pharaoh was gonna reap that benefit, and they weren't. They still had a job to do. And I believe, spiritually, God was saying, look, just like you serve these other nations, you're gonna have to serve me, brick and mortar for me, labor for me. If I might not give you straw, but you better figure it out. You figured it out for these other gods. You figured it out for these other kings.
Right.
You have no excuse.
that brings us back to Sirach, man, right? Where it talks about a man that is constantly about his work, right? He won't be found in those places that the deep sayings are. He's not going to be found in those places where he needs to be at because he's always going to be consumed in his work, right? And what work are you really putting in? You're putting work in for that American dream, right? When you should be putting in working for this kingdom that's about to come, right? I want to scroll up too,
I think
cause
Brother
right,
Yeshaya had something to say.
No,
con,
I was gonna ask after you read this, can I read a precept?
con. Give me 1 second. Um, read verse 23 for me.
23. His Lord said unto him, Well done, good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will make thee ruler over many things. Enter thou into the joy of the Lord.
Come, man. And a lot of us, we're focused on getting the bag. We're focused on trying to multiply the little money that we have, right? And wonder why we're not going nowhere. Because the Most High is telling us, hey, look, if you focus on what I need you to do first, I will then multiply your money. But a lot of us focus on the things that, hey, look, man, you constantly worry about how to make your dollar grow, how to make your businesses grow, right? How can I get multiple streams of income? When, hey, look, the Most High is saying, hey, look, worry about me first, and all of those things will come to you. And it's a daily battle. We all gotta keep striving. Like today, we got on late today, right? Thoughts flash through the forefront of your mind, like maybe we'll just not get on today, right? But it's a constant, just like you show up to your job every day. When you make vows, when you discipline yourself for the Most High, you have to stay consistent. You cannot be what does it say in verse 26 right here? Start right
A
here.
wicked and slothful servant.
You cannot be slothful. Doesn't it say that in Romans chapter 12, I believe? Or Romans chapter 10 and 12? It's in Romans where it says, Be not thou slothful in business. This is the Father's business, and we cannot be slothful. Right? What's your precept you wanted to pull out?
Dang, you kind of shied away from the point. Now it matched the point that you was on, but it was Ecclesiasticus 21:15. Because we was talking about the candle, right? The candle and then adding to the fire, spreading the fire. So I know brothers
It'll
always
still
pull this
tie
out.
in. It'll still tie in.
Yeah. And I should say, I know brothers always pull this out, but again, this is something that is relative to everyday life when you think about it, just like how we talking about multiplying your talents.
Sirach 21 and what?
15. And it says, if a skillful man hear a wise word, he will commend it and add unto it. But as soon as one of no understanding heareth it, it displeaseth him, and he casteth it behind his back.
That's
right?
deep.
Hey, we gotta if we the people that bear the light, you know what I'm saying? We got the fire, right? You got to be the type of brother who promotes the fire. Like the brother was saying, you can't be the person who tries to quench the fire, or you kind of scared that, maybe my fire is wrong, so I don't want to go burn nobody else and then cast them into the everlasting fire. You just kind of got to be the person to say, look, man, hey, let me go ahead and do what I need to do. Like the brother said, do what's required of me. Because a lot of us don't do that for reasons unknown, or for reasons like the brother's been bringing out all night. But just wanted to add that in to say that, on the topic of adding unto the fire, just keep Sirach 21:15 in mind when you think about adding unto the fire. Be wise, you know what I'm saying, and use it. Even if it's something that your spirit might not agree with, or not even your spirit. If it's a word that you need to hear, your flesh may not agree with it. So you need to check your flesh and let your spirit be greater than your flesh. Hey, look, like the brother Donald always say, he must increase, but I must decrease.
Con. Mighty precept. I might go to that's my favorite precept, man. I might go to that one after this, right? But I like you pull this out, man. This one's kind of deep too, man. A lot of us like to read the scriptures with the point of view that we're perfect and we have a heart towards the Most High, and this will go over your head, right? It says a skillful man will hear a wise word. A wise word is just going to be the law, statutes, and commandments, to be honest, right? And it's simple, in its simple form. He will commend it. Hey, everything the Most High is telling me to do, hey, because it's for my good. I understand that, and add unto it, right? But as soon as one of no understanding heareth it, it displeases him, and he casts it behind his back, right? Just as soon as somebody says, "Hey, look, man, the Most I said we need to wear fringes," somebody with no understanding heareth it. Well, we wore fringes back in the day, and it never did nothing for us. It displeases him, and what does he do? He casts behind his back. I don't need to wear them jokers no more. I don't need to keep the feast days no more.
It's all on the heart now, man.
Right?
Got the fringes on my heart.
Brothers with no understanding. And what is understanding, right?
I don't have to be called a child of
Departing from
Israel.
evil.
I don't have to be called a child of Israel. I could just be a daughter of Zion.
Right, man. What is understanding, man? Understanding. So this person has no understanding, and understanding is to depart from evil. So if this person understood what was being told, right, the wise word, he would keep it, and he would depart from evil by what? Keeping his fringes, keeping the holy days, right? Not being ashamed to be an Israelite, spreading the gospel, right?
Right. Like you
I
said,
like
like y'all said, man, a lot of Israelites, they see somebody candle burning and it make them uncomfortable, bro. That how bright it is and how warm it is, it make them uncomfortable. They're like, oh, that's too much. And they want to, you know what I'm saying? Maybe they don't want to quench it all the way and put it out, but they want to dim it a little bit, right? And you, no matter how much you feel uncomfortable, if the truth is the truth, you got to let it be, man.
Con. This is my one of my favorite precepts, man. If I was still in the world, I might have got this tatted. No folly, right? But this is John 3:30. He must increase, but I must decrease. And this goes perfectly with the parable, right? Because he is looking for me to increase what he has. Instead, I hid what he gave me because of me, because I was afraid, because I wanted to make sure X, Y, and Z. I had all the excuses, but no, you have to decrease. You got to increase. How do you do that? By doing what is being asked of you to do, right? Take yourself out the equation and just do what you got to do, man. Right? I'm gonna go to the last passage that we're gonna dissect today. It's one of my favorites. You guys know this is one of my favorites. Our brother Paul is gonna be speaking to us here. 1 Corinthians 4:10. You know, this scripture, hey, a lot of people see this scripture, man, and it's bittersweet to them, man, but the proper understanding, hey, it is what it is. So this is a book of First Corinthians, Salakia, chapter 4 and verse number 10.
And the Most High God said, "Who made the dumb? Who called the dumb to speak, man?"
That's madness.
The brother couldn't get the words out, but verse 10: We are fools for Christ's sake, but ye are wise in Christ.
This is brother Paul speaking on behalf of him and all the disciples, man. Right? And make no mistake. He's slightly using sarcasm here, right? And with his sarcasm, he's speaking in the point of view, the perspective of the world, right? So everything is kind of in reverse, and you're gonna see that. He says, "We are fools for Christ's sake." Him and the disciples are counted for fools in the eyes of the world.
Yeah.
But ye are wise in Christ.
Right.
So in the eyes of the world, you're being wise. And a lot of us try to mix that worldly wisdom when we come into this truth, right? We all have I can name several people that will give wisdom based off the wisdom of navigating and moving in the world and being accepted in the world versus, you know, what he says, being a fool for Christ. Which one is the best out of the two, right? Which one do you think Christ would honor the most? Being wise, moving around, right, with the wisdom of this world, or being a fool for Christ?
Right.
One might argue he did tell us to be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Cool, I get that, right? But how much more is he gonna respect you for being fools for his name's sake, right?
And this verse is really talking about, for example, oh, you leaving the church? Are you a fool, bro? Oh, you gonna leave the fraternity? What, bruh? You work so hard for that. You a fool, bro. You know how much you can get, how many jobs you can. Oh, bro, you getting married in your 20s? Oh, you a fool, bro. You supposed to be living life. That's what it really means, man. Being fools according to the world makes you smart according to Christ.
You gonna turn down that job and they offering 100K just because you won't work on a Saturday? Oh, you a fool, bro. Right?
God wouldn't have put that interview in your lap, bro. He wants you to have that, bro.
Right. Keep reading for me.
We are weak, but ye are strong.
Hey, look, man, we are when it comes to this word weak, it's just talking about the things that we go through, right? We make ourselves weak. Why? Not to boast or anything like that, but brothers fast at least once a week, right? You know what I'm saying? We make ourselves weak by making ourselves little, like we just read, decreasing ourselves and increasing him, right? And it says, but ye are strong. Man, you sitting there, you haven't fasted not a day in your life, right? You probably don't even take heed to the dietary law, right? On Saturdays, you working out, you getting strong on Saturday, right? All of this stuff, your life is made fat, right? While we suffer for Christ's sake, while we are lacking for Christ's sake, being persecuted, you are enjoying the endeavors of this world. You're girding yourself up. You're being strong. Keep reading for me.
Ye are honorable, but we are despised.
You're honorable for staying in the church, right? You're honorable for staying in the fraternity. A lot of you guys are honorable for doing certain things, man, but we are despised when we come up out of the church. When we come up out of the fraternities, when we stop hanging around with our friends all the time, right? We're despised for it. And it comes down to like, hey man, we love the camaraderie, love the brothers that we've met, right? The relationships, but at the end of the day, we got to do what we got to do. And we might not be honored for it, but hey, look, that's why we're despised, man.
Too, going back to the weak and you are strong, when you keep the laws of God, for some reason, people in the world, not for some reason, it was prophesied that bitter would become sweet and sweet would be bitter, right? But for some reason, when you keep the laws of God, you're considered weak-minded and weak in your faith. You don't have to keep the law. You don't have to do that. If you have to step away from that, that's because your faith is too weak. Nothing should come between you and God. If you letting that become, but they're strong though. According to the world, they're the strong ones, right? For living in sin, because apparently they have strong faith because they can sin.
Hey, check this out, man. Even when it comes to this word, the ones that are honorable are like Mike Todd, who spits loogie on men's faces and accepts homosexuality in the church. They are honorable, but we are despised for saying what it is. No, you can't be a homosexual, right? If he would read in the Bible, right? Anytime somebody spit in somebody's face, it was a form of disrespect. So you telling me you're disrespecting the sheep that's in your congregation, but you're honorable for that, right? A lot of these people go and get these PhDs and go to cemetery school. You know what I'm saying?
Madness.
They become all of these big honorable names, and we're despised. We're just some kids on the street that know the Bible. We ain't got no title to our name or nothing, right? Matter of fact, people walk by us, don't pay us no attention, and we'll have a good conversation going, and people will just flat out leave, right? I think it's time to go. You know what I'm saying? They don't honor what we're doing. Some people do. Don't get me wrong. Some people do, right? But for the most part, you guys are kind of honorable for hiding your talent, for keeping your normal life,
Playing it safe.
Right, playing it safe, and we are despised. Keep reading, it gets better.
Did the brother Yeshaya have something to say?
I'll bring it out after finish reading.
Con, even unto this present hour, we both hunger and thirst and are naked.
Hey, and when the Bible says we're naked, man, that means, hey, look, man, we're exposed. We're not hiding nothing. We're declaring this truth. We're not ashamed of anything, right? We're out in the open, presenting our bodies as living sacrifices. We hunger and we thirst, right? We are denied things of this world because of what we believe, and we deny things of ourselves because of what we believe. We're
Right.
hungry and we're thirsting, right? Do you know how
And-
many things in this world have pork in it that we just can't eat no more, right? Compared to the average person that can just eat anything they feel like, right? We hunger, we thirst, right? When it comes to thirsting, we thirst for this word, because we're chasing it 10 times harder, like Baruch said. We're thirsting for our brothers and sisters to get it right. Constantly, man, right? We're naked and we are buffeted and have no certain dwelling place. We were just talking about this the other day. Now, some congregations, they do have, schools and churches, but for the most part, if you're an Israelite, man, we have no more dwelling places no more. I can name several people. We don't got no place to congregate. 9 times out of 10, if we congregate, it's here and there, like nomads at people's houses, right? We have no certain dwelling place no more, right? We can't even gather with our family because the only time they want to gather is during wicked holidays. We have no dwelling places. And if we do have dwelling places, right, best believe probably the feds watching them, right? Or they not being honored for real. I remember back in Christianity, people used to ride around, and whenever they rode past the church, this is way back when. A lot of y'all young people probably don't even know about this. People used to turn down the radio whenever they rode past the church. You know what I'm saying? People used to take off their hat, even in the car, whenever they rode past the church. That's how much honor those churches had, right? You think they doing that for the IUIC schools when they ride past the IUIC schools, when they ride past the GOCC schools, the Sakari schools? No. And 9 times out of 10, those schools, man, you see these big cathedral churches and all this stuff. I haven't seen not one Israelite church or school that's like that. We got little shacks on the side of the road, little venues that we, rent out that's about the size of one room. We ain't got no dwelling places no more, man. We move like nomads. You have something to say?
Con, if you could go to the book of back to Sirach, chapter 42, and start at verse number 1.
Con.
And the reason that I'm going to read this is for the exact same reason why you was just explaining, hey, we like nomads, we always on the move. We really we don't got no temple, man. We under these curses. Sirach 42.
Con.
Start at verse number 1.
Probably should have just.
So I can't know it's a lot to get to the Apocrypha on this thing.
No, that's cool. I thought if I would have backspace, it would have put me back in Sirach, but I guess not. Sirach 42.
Time. But like I said, I'll explain why I'm reading this, as we read through it.
Con. Starting at verse 1.
Con.
Of these things be not thou ashamed, and accept no person to sin thereby.
Right.
Of the law of the Most High.
Of the what?
Of the law of the Most High.
Uh-huh.
And his covenant, and of judgment to justify the ungodly.
Right. So start right there. The first 3 things that's mentioned is the law of the Most High, the covenant, and of judgment to justify the ungodly, right? Hey, those are things that we shouldn't be ashamed of. If we weren't ashamed of the law of the Most High, we wouldn't be persecuted, or better yet, I'm not persecuted. Let me say that backwards. If we weren't ashamed of the law of the Most High, we would be persecuted a lot more for the things that we should stand on because of simply our dedication to follow the law of the Most High. It's that simple. Like the brother said, it's crazy how we're considered cultish. We're considered what you call Pharisees for wanting to do what the Most High commanded his chosen people to do, right? It doesn't matter. Let's take the who we know as the Israelites, who we know are the true Israelites. Just take that out of the equation. Just people who simply believe in the Bible and want to live by the word of the Lord that he commanded his chosen people to do. We're considered Pharisees. We're considered hypocrites. We're considered cultish for wanting to do the right thing according to the eyes of the Most High. But you have some people that face persecution for doing that. You have some people that know to do better, but still choose not to. Because why? They're ashamed of the law of the Most High. But could you read verse number 2 one more time?
Con, of the law of the Most High and of his covenant and of judgment to justify the ungodly.
Right? But read verse number 1 again. It says to do what?
Of these things be not thou ashamed, and accept no person to sin thereby.
So we shouldn't be ashamed of these things, right? But since we are ashamed, hey, guess what? This is why we have people who are pastors, you know what I'm saying? And they get glorified. Meanwhile, people who like to read the Bible, like us brothers, the sister that's on the live, the brothers and sisters that's always tuning in, because we like to read the Bible, because we like to study it and understand the truth that is written therein. Now we're considered the ones who are going off about it. Now people are coming to us telling us we have the doctrine of devils, right? But see, we don't have enough people who are not ashamed of the law of the Most High. We don't have enough people who are not ashamed of the covenant, right? That even Paul himself clarifies who that covenant is for. But since we have people who are not who are ashamed of the law, since we have people who are ashamed of teaching the right covenant, who are ashamed of teaching the judgments, right? Now we have lawlessness. Now we have confusion. In 1 Corinthians 14:33, the Most High is not the author of confusion, but since we have people who are ashamed of doing what's required of them, since we have people who are ashamed of teaching the truth, right? Now we have all this confusion, all this hearsay, all these different doctrines against people who apt to be not ashamed of the law of the Most High. The most important thing that will tie all these in together, right? But
Con, man, it's a mighty precept, definitely a staple precept right here, man. Right, and it's plain upon tables. I like the second part right here in verse 1. It says, "And accept no person to sin thereby." Right, like Mike Todd accepting persons to sin thereby at his church. Right, he says we should not be ashamed. What was Mike Todd? Mike Todd was ashamed of the words that was in the Bible that he holds. And he accepted persons to sin thereby because he was ashamed. That's what will happen when you're ashamed. That's what will happen when you hide your talents. You end up accepting people to sin that's close by you. Right?
God, hey, look, Salakia, if you can scroll down real quick. I know I said I was gonna hold, but can you go down to verse number 8, right? Verse number 8. It says, "Be not ashamed to inform the unwise and foolish, and the extreme age that contendeth with those that are young. Thus shalt thou truly be learned," Salakia, "thus shalt thou be truly learned and approved of all men living." This goes right back into 2 Corinthians 3 when it talks about Paul, right? Hey, we don't need no letters of commendation, right? You are our epistles. We're going to be approved of men, but not because they wrote us a letter and certified us and stamped and had it what do they call it? Stamped by the highest doctor, highest professor. No, we're going to be approved because we have a pure doctrine that the Most High gave us, like it says in Proverbs 4:2. And we're not ashamed to teach the truth thereof. We're not ashamed to not allow people to sin for being ashamed of the truth thereof, right?
And we'll be approved for that, man.
Right. So you got to not be ashamed of this. Salakia.
No, Con, you good. Con, man, we be approved of all men. Why? Because we're doing righteous in judgment, right? We're doing what we've been told to do. We're doing the thing that we've been placed on this earth to do, right? And we're not being ashamed of it when it comes to teaching the young or when it comes to teaching the old, everybody can get this truth, right? And we're gonna give it to you not bashfully, but boldfully. I'm gonna go back to First Corinthians really quick, and we're gonna finish out in First Corinthians chapter 4. I think we stopped at verse number 10.
Uh,
No, we stopped at verse number 12. Read verse number. We're gonna stop at 14, but read verse 12 for me.
and labor, working with our own hands, being reviled, we bless, being persecuted, we suffer.
Come on, man. We put our hands to this plow, man. We labor, working with our own hands, and when we do this, we are reviled. When we go out on them streets, man, we are reviled. When people, send us DMs and want to talk about certain things, we're reviled, right? When we bless people, we're being persecuted, right? Even by our own brothers and sisters, man. I remember we just gave alms not too long ago, and we was persecuted for it, right? I'm not gonna get into the situation, but we bless people and get persecuted for it, right? We suffer it all because we're fools for Christ. Keep reading.
Being defamed, we entreat.
We are defamed, man. What does it mean? Hey, people try to discredit us. Everything that we say, they try to discredit us, even though they can't gainsay what we're saying. They try to, hey, them niggas on the street don't know what they talking about, right?
Slovakia too, Lauren Hill, right? A lot of these famous people that come into this knowledge of the truth and actually
Fine.
take it, they're defamed, man. They turn into nobodies.
The men are emasculated, man.
Right? Matter of fact, a lot of us, we had some clout in the world. When we came into this truth, we lost followers, man. We lost people in our lives. We were defamed, man. That clout, those likes that we used to get, the story views we used to get, don't get them no more because we defamed.
We're defamed for this truth, man. We're defamed for Christ, right? Keep reading.
We are made as the filth of the world.
We are made of the filth of the world, bro. Everybody looks at the Israelites as the filth of the world. Oh, that's the hate group. Y'all always into hate, right? Why y'all always think, you know what I'm saying, y'all better than everybody else? This, that, and third. You know what I'm saying? We are known as the filth of the world. Y'all in the cult. Y'all always going out looking like some bums, right? Us at the THE, we're trying to step our game up, and you're trying to get some nice gear, but for the most part, people look at us as the filth of the world. And not only that, man, you can just see that just as being in the marginalized people, the minorities, right? The so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, that in itself we're known as the filth of the world, right? Keep reading.
And are the offscouring of all things unto this day.
Right, man. We've been made an astonishment among all people. Read 14 and we'll end right here.
I write not these things to shame you, but as my beloved sons, I warn you.
Con, man. And somebody might be reading this with the wrong perspective, saying, oh, he's saying I'm wise for staying inside and playing it safe. No, he's letting you know, look, don't get it twisted. He was being sarcastic the whole time. You know what I'm saying? Not really sarcastic, but he was saying, hey, in the eyes of the world, this is what it looks like. But I'm writing these things not to shame you. And I brought this scripture out to a seasoned lady in my life. And she didn't really like the way I was reading it, but I was reading it for what it was. And she was like, well, you can't really, blame people for not having the spirit on them to do X, Y, and Z and blah, 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 blah. What does Paul say? He says, I'm not trying to shame you, but I'm just trying to warn you that if you hide your talent, right? If you're ashamed of this gospel, you might not make it. That's all. That's all. We're trying to warn you. What's the only thing Paul could be warning you of? That you might not make it. That's why we stand firm and we believe that we are fools for Christ. And that's why we every day of our life, man, whether we go out on the streets or we're home at with our families, we go out in the street to go grocery shopping, we're going to make known this gospel, even if that just means to wear our fringes out. We're going to cry aloud, spare not, and lift up our voice like a trump with our voices and our actions, because we're not ashamed of this gospel and we are counted fools for Christ's sake, right? And with that, I yield. The brothers have anything else?
Great lesson. You know what I'm saying? Like the brother said, man, we can't hide our talents, man. We got to become fools for Christ's sakes. We were fools in the world, man. When we was in the world, we was fools for everything that we was into, and we did it wholeheartedly, and we were not trying to hide any of our talents. We tried to multiply everything that we had, every little thing that we was in our control. We tried to multiply it. So when we come into this truth, do the same thing, man.
Kane, and I always wanted to say, man, mighty lesson. Hey, look, glorify the Lord. Can you hear me now?
Con.
Okay, yeah. Sirach 43 and 30, man. Hey, look, when you glorify the Lord, exalt him as often as you can, right? And how does that tie into what the brother just went over? Well, it's just like this. Hey, we got to present our bodies as a living sacrifice, like it mentions in Romans 12 and 2. That's how we glorify the Lord. So when you glorify the Lord by presenting your body, right, wherever it is that the Most High gave you a talent for, hey, exalt him as often as you can. Do it for the name of the Lord and stop worrying about what people gonna say. Do it for the name of the Lord and stop second guessing yourself, man. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Go full throttle for the Most High God, because like the brother just said, when we was in the world, everything that we used to try to do, we did it to the max, right? I know that I forgot what's his name had a song like that. Roscoe Dash, do it to the maximum, right? So we got to remember, we shouldn't be ashamed of the things that the Most High gave us that we should be using to glorify his name, because that's our sole purpose, according to Ecclesiastes 12 and 13, right? But with that, man, like I said, I'm going to yield. Hey, mighty lesson by the brother done, and shalom to the people, man.
Con, I want to thank these brothers for getting on and adding unto this lesson, man. Mighty precepts, mighty points that were brought out today. I hope you guys were edified. But with that, man, I yield, giving all honor, glory, praise to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who sent his son to be a salvation for the nation of Israel, right? With that, we say shalom, and we pose the question, are you a fool for Christ? Something to think about on this Think About Thursday. That being said, we say shalom, shalom.